Hello, welcome to my daily video. I'm a bit late today, but thank you for your patience and thank you for checking this out. I appreciate it. My goal here is to try to bring interesting and informative and useful information to real estate and mortgage professionals, information that we can use to help differentiate ourselves or to make ourselves better or to add more value to our customers. So let's go into today's topic, and it might even be a mini rant, and if so, I apologize, but I came across an article in ResiClub, and ResiClub puts out great content, and so I highly recommend subscribing to ResiClub. But I came across an article in ResiClub, and the title of the article was Feddie Mac, Housing Shortage Has Delayed the Formation of 1 Million Households. And really what the article is about is the housing shortage. And the housing shortage is certainly a popular theme in our industries, and it's estimated there's anywhere between 2.2 to 4.5 million houses that we're short of. And what Feddie Mac, so this Feddie Mac study came out, and what Feddie Mac said is, look, we know there's 147 million housing units in the United States. We think we need to have 150.7 million, and so we have a shortage of 3.7 million. And like I said, we've heard this repeatedly. I like reading these articles. I like learning about them. So I started to read the article, and you know what I discovered? This number is completely baloney. It is 100% made up number. The article touches on 11 different studies and how they vary a little bit. But let me go through how this number came about and see what you think. All right? So here's the thing. So Feddie Mac said, look, if homes are more affordable and if we had more inventory, then there'd be demand for 1 million more homes. That's the essence. So a million people would there'd be a household formation creating a need for a new home if the conditions were right. And what they cited is, look, if it was affordable, 1 million more people would buy a home or rent a house because it's for buying or renting. Okay, I get that. But if we made houses free, I bet 50 million more people or 100 million more people would want home. Meaning creating the demand is artificial. We can create the demand by giving away for free, by lowering the cost, by giving people tons of extra money. That creates demand. But we can't look at, if we created more demand, how is our supply? Instead, we need to look at what our current demand is to understand current supply, in my mind. So right away, they make all these assumptions, which I'm talking about in a minute, that aren't at all tethered to reality. They're very weak assumptions to begin with. Birth debt rate, all sorts of things that go into it, and then they put a model based on how many people have been born and how old they are, and societal kind of conditions. We think that 1 million more people would move into a house if we made it more affordable. I don't know. That doesn't really appeal to me. So here's the next thing. This is really crazy. So in the Feddie Mac, and by the way, this article is great. You can learn a lot about how these numbers are created. But in the Feddie Mac study, they say, look, we're short 1 million homes. If they're more affordable, there'd be demand for 1 million homes. So we could change the demand curve. But then they go, but you know what, really? We need to have about 2.7 million vacancies in order to have a healthy market. Now, I have to tell you, I had a hard time understanding this. How does creating an excess of inventory reduce our shortage? Like, that doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, we have to create an excess supply to solve shortage. No, that doesn't make any sense. If there'd be a demand for 1 million more homes, if we change the conditions of the demand, then we need 1 million homes, not 3.7 million homes. So you see how this number is kind of awkward, and not really tethered to reality. And what's so funny is that we've accepted this number as fact. And the numbers vary, by the way. There's 11 different surveys out here. I think and it listed in the article, I think the lowest estimate is 2 million, and that comes from Zonda. The highest estimate now is Zillow, so we're 4.5 million homes short. And they're all reputable. I'm not at all, accusing them. Fannie Mae thinks there's 4.4 million estimates short. But look at what the assumptions is. And I love this. In this article, they quote an economist at Zillow, and Orphe Divounguy, I'm so sorry I can't say his name, Divounguy, the senior economist at Zillow, and he says, look, it's really easy. It's clear cut to figure out how many homes we have. However, on the demand side, the demand is unobserved. So you have to make a number of assumptions to come up with a reasonable estimate on how much demand there is for housing. And then on top of it, you actually have to change the demand curve by changing the conditions in which it exists. And I'll give you, and here's all you need to know. I'll give you the best example. In this article, they list the housing supply or shortage in the top 50 markets, right? And one of the ones that's really, really, really interesting and kind of debunks this whole concept is in Austin right now. The Zillow estimates, estimate that there's a 61,322 unit shortage in housing in Austin. All right, so there's a supply, there's a constrained supply, and so there's a shortage, right? How does that line up with the fact that home values in Austin just dropped 21%? Right, because if there was a shortage in homes, it would be inflating prices, not deflating them. And that's why that's just evidence how the science doesn't quite work. So I guess I believe there's probably a shortage of housing in the United States. There's certainly a shortage of affordable housing. I don't know if I agree with all these numbers that people are just making up with assumptions and by manipulating the demand curve and then coming up with a number. And this whole excess, we have to have a certain amount of vacancies to actually be considered that we have enough housing. I'm not 100% certain of that. And how do you rectify cities that have are shown to be are believed to have not enough inventory but prices are falling? I don't know. I'm not certain. And something else, another really interesting article. This is it almost seems like unrelated, but it's not unrelated. I read an article this morning in Snacks, is another by Sherwood News, another really good newsletter, and they were talking about now this is mostly an investment newsletter, but you can always get great stuff. They're talking about the stock price of Kay Jewelers and Jared. The stock prices have been falling because the revenue is falling. The reason the revenue is falling, there's two reasons, but it's because volume, sales are really dropping, and there's two things dropping sales. The number one thing dropping sales is people aren't getting married. And they have data that shows, hey, look, on average, they have a rating for it. I think it's like, so in pre-COVID, right, 2.8 million people got engaged. So they would sell 2.8 million, engagement rings. Last year, 2.1 million couples got engaged. So people are creating households at a much slower rate. I mean, we see if 1/3 fewer people are getting married, that's a good indicator of slower housing formation, right? There's all sorts of ingredients that's going on there that we have to pay attention to. And I guess the idea here is, don't let these numbers, don't get buried in these numbers and these doomsday numbers. As we keep saying, control what you can control and go help people achieve the American dream of home ownership and help them gain wealth through real estate. That's what we're talking about. And don't get skewed by these numbers. But sometime look under the hood. It's kind of interesting. I did a lengthy LinkedIn post on this. Check out my LinkedIn. Check out all my socials if you want to. I, of course, have a ton of videos. Video day. I have at least one post. I cover a bunch of articles on LinkedIn. And with that, I hope you have a great